Yeah, okay, time to live free. Plenty goals I'm achieving. Some real life topics and talking financial freedom. Mindset, soul and love, everything in between. This is Freedom Podcast. Tune in, live free. Hey, got my mindset right and I got the drive. Planning one day, no more job, no more 9 to 5. Love, money, mind. Love, money, mind. This is freedom. Tune in, cause it's going down. Woo!
Welcome to another episode of Your Freedom Podcast. And in this episode, I interview Tulsi Patel. Now, Tulsi has got such an inspiring story. She's written several books, which I'm going to share. And she actually writes under the pseudonym of T. Dench Patel. She's been writing daily since the age of 18 years of age. And prior to that, she's been making up rhymes in her head since 9. In 2009, Tulsi found herself going downhill and ended up in the trenches of the economic crisis with 90 francs to last her 3 months. The main struggle that practically held her back from the age of 21 and a consecutive 18-year run was immigration. Needless to say, she was raised in apartheid South Africa and left free South Africa after being held at gunpoint. If there was any demon stopping me, she says, to get further, it was always immigration and political issues. With 90 francs to last 3 months, a computer, no warm clothes for the autumn in Switzerland, she stayed in a room in a hotel most of the time where she worked without getting paid to live and eat there. In the hotel room, she began writing books. South African, The True Colours, and The South African Roma. Both are based on a true story, and they were both released between 2018 and 2019. Today, she has 11 years of experience in writing poetry and 11 years of experience of writing novels. I'm going to share all her books in the comment section. I'm really inspired by chatting to Tulsi. She's got such an inspiring story, so stay tuned. And this is another story of how somebody has created freedom in their lives. Hi, Tulsi. I'm really excited for this interview because I know we connected probably, I'm trying to think, timeline now. It's probably a year or so ago through Import Experts, which is a kind of e-commerce training program that I coach in. And I know that you're really passionate about building an online physical product business. But I know you've also got a very inspiring story to share. So I really appreciate you coming on my podcast for this interview.
Thank you so much for having me, Anna. I'm glad to be here. The same, likewise.
So in Your Freedom Podcast, we focus on 3 pillars: love, money, and mind. And love is about finding freedom in love, and it's not necessarily always about. A lot of people think it's about, romantic relationships, but actually love for me means a more depth around self-care and self-love, and also the love that we give to others in the world. Freedom in money is obviously financial freedom, and then freedom in mind kind of encompasses it all, really, to have a strong positive mindset, and freedom in that mindset kind of encompasses it all together. So I know you've been on kind of like maybe a roller coaster journey yourself, and we've had some alignment with the challenges as regards to domestic abuse and domestic violence and stuff. And I don't know if you're happy to share some of that today, but you've written some books as well, so you've got a really inspiring story. And I just wondered, how did it kind of all start for you? How did you get to this point of share us how you've come on your journey, as like, where did it all start? We can go back to when you were a little girl growing up, I don't know, but where were you originally born and where are you now, type of thing. Share a little bit about your journey.
Sure. So I've been born and brought up in the apartheid South Africa in the 70s, and in a segregated area where Indians lived. I didn't know about my history because I was going to an Indian school and I only saw Indian faces. And I used to ask myself, where do the Black people live at night? Because I only see them in the day. And it was a bizarre upbringing in terms of, like, you see white people on TV, you see the black people in your community, and you see the Indian people around you, but you're like, hey, where are they living?
That's really interesting. Wow, that must have been bizarre in a way.
Yeah. The questions I asked, I thought that I was probably the only one asking these stupid questions because no one was asking them.
So
yes.
how long were you there for then? Obviously that was like your schooling when you were younger. When did you move
Yes.
away?
So I was from say 1979 to the year 1997. I was in school, finished high school in 1997, and then went to college. And then I had 1 year where I was looking for a job because in that time frame we went out of apartheid, where Nelson Mandela became president, and there was a lot of changes in the
Yeah.
country, and people were uncertain about the future. So that 1 year, I kind of saw such a dramatic change in our country that I was concerned about my future and where I stand in terms of race and where I
Yeah.
will go from here. And then I landed my first full-time job.
And what was that? What was it you went into? What was your sort of thing back then?
So I studied something that I completely disliked because I couldn't go to university, and I hated cooking. And I went and got myself a diploma in hotel operations and management. And then I was there saying, okay, you need to get a job. Like you're not getting any job in the hotel. So I ended up getting a job in finance, like a money transfers company, and it was
Okay.
pretty big back then. So that was my first full-time job, and it was for me a good salary because I haven't seen 2,000 rands, which was probably, what is 2,000 rands? You divide that by maybe 10 in pounds. I never seen that kind of money back then at
Right.
19 years of age.
It's your first taste of money.
Yeah, yeah, and freedom as well. Like, yes, I finally
Yeah,
get to
yeah.
buy my own stuff.
Yeah.
Yes, and then uh, that that full-time job lasted probably 1 year until I got held up at gunpoint at that job.
Wow. Tell me more. What happened with that then?
So yeah, it was a few days before Christmas, and everything was running smooth. I didn't consider myself as a manager because I was only 19 years old, and there we were, the two of us, and the panic button was so tiny. Like you can't even get your finger. You have to probably get your nail in it. So we were busy, taking all the transfers in before Christmas, and say about 2 days before Christmas, uh, something bizarre happened in the job. I literally feel like it was a setup because
Yeah.
everything that day was done absolutely opposite from every other day.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and so the guy came in with the gun, held it to my head, and told my colleague to take out all the cash from the safe. And when the gun was on my head, I wasn't worried. But when I looked up in his face and looked up to see if the safety was off, I think that's when I kind of got a panic
Wow.
that the
Yeah.
safety was off. And the guy was like, you get down, I shoot you. He wasn't like, I'm going to think about shooting you, or I'm going to shoot you. It was like that.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. God, how did that feel? That must have been absolutely terrifying.
So yeah, I melted to the ground, like I couldn't even feel my fingers. I felt like like I was part of the ground just going down, seeping in, and like water melting. And I
Yeah.
was, before I knew it, I was on the ground, down with my face on the ground and just saying, shit.
Yeah.
What? I hope something worse than this doesn't happen, because like I was scared, I
Yeah,
mean,
I bet
like,
you were. And
yeah,
I bet that had like after effects as well. It's got to have.
yeah. After that, I was shaking, and then only did the tears and everything come out when the
Yeah,
police
yeah.
arrived. So the guy basically locked us up and threw the key away and disappeared on foot with 100,000 rands. And we were like banging on the door, get us out, and then I was the softer one, like, but then my colleague was supposed to be the stronger one, was like in tears, and I was like, okay, can you please shut the F up? I need to think. And then I saw the panic button and I pressed the panic button.
God, that must have been scary though. I know, like, you're laughing about it now. How old were you then when that happened?
I was 19, maybe
Yeah,
just 20, just going on to 21 then, yes.
yeah. Wow. Um,
Yeah. And that's when
so was that like the end of that career? Did that kind of finish it off for you, or did you carry on with it within the finances?
so that was a short-lived career, and in South Africa as well. The first job in South Africa ended there, and I was I just couldn't trust my colleague anymore after that day.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and so like all the questions that came after that: when are you going to the police station? What time are you going to the police station? To draw the guy's face with the policeman, and those questions like were so interrogating that I was scared to even go to the police to get the guy's facial image drawn up with them, that I didn't even
Yeah,
appear on that day.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And then I just kind of said, I don't think this is the place I want to live in. I value my life. So we are a family of 6, and I was in a different headspace from the other 5. I was like, I want my life. I just want out of here. And before I knew it, I applied for a visa to go to the UK. And from the day I applied for the visa, 4 weeks from then, I was already in the UK.
Right, okay. You were out of there quickly.
Out of there quickly. And also, like, I was thinking, if it took 1 year to find a job, and this is supposed to be a good job, what is going to take you now to get another job?
Yeah, exactly. So what did you do then? You obviously got and because I know you had like a few immigration issues, didn't you? Or you've had immigration issues, and that's been one of your challenges that you were saying. Was that going to the UK, or what was that? Explain, because you obviously got your visa for the UK to get out of South Africa.
Yes, that was my first taste of travel at the age of just turning 21. And I came like a village girl, like where you see pictures where we have things in the garden and really conserved culture. And then I went boom, like, where the hell did I end up? In a good way.
where did you go to in the UK? Where did you start off? You know what I mean?
So and this is like, I looked at this tube map and I was like, what is this? And I'm like, how does one work this? And and then the hotel, can you believe the hotel diploma actually got me a job in a hotel in
Oh, that's good.
advance?
Yeah, that's
to
good.
get to a place called Marlborough in the UK. And it can only happen to me. I go to the airport and I say to the lady, how do I get to this place? And she said, there's 2 places with the same name. Which one is yours? So yeah, then I had to show her the thing, because I was like, what? Is this real? She's like, the spelling of Marlborough is different here. So like, yeah, I was, you come from conserve, but a very streetwise culture in South Africa, to holding your bag really tightly when you get to immigrations in the UK, and they like, what you hiding in your bag?
Yeah.
That landed me in a like an X-ray check. They had to do an X-ray check in the airport, and I had to wait 2 hours extra. I was like, was I so suspicious?
What are you bringing into the UK type of thing?
Yeah, yeah. So, and then like getting out of there was like whew, this is like, okay, now we have to face the next battle. What is that? So yeah, I got to the town, this beautiful town, Marlborough, in Wiltshire, and obviously I had no idea that what I just prepared myself for the hardest experience ever, thinking that UK is going to be like South Africa, and you need to go prepared with your writing, because I produced poetry on frames, so I had them.
Okay. So you had that
Yeah,
writing flair then.
yeah. And I had these frames that I said, okay, if worse comes to worse, you sell this writing and then you make money and then you get on your way. So a thin, tiny lady with a tortoise, a big tortoise shell. Oh my God, what is, I can't even carry my own luggage. And someone helped me, and I was like, when I looked at all the other travelers, I was like, yeah, you are the first time traveler now. You can see why these guys know what they're doing. Yeah, so ended up in this hotel. Oh my God, this hotel was so funny. Like, I arrived there, and I was like, okay, this is professional. I better get my training boots on, and I arrive at the downstairs, and I'm like, everyone is so unserious.
Yeah. Great mentality.
But like when I heard the steak and kidney pie, I was like, what? Is that English? Yeah, so getting used to the British accent was another thing. But yeah, that's one.
You obviously moved like on your own, didn't you? What about your family and things? Were they happy that you were moving to the UK, or what was the situation? Or did you know people in the UK?
So coming from Indian culture, at the age of 21, everyone was getting a heart attack. What is this girl going to do? Is she serious about going overseas? Because we can't accept this. And yeah, the extended family were really pressuring my family to stop me from leaving. And my dad was already in India. He had some work there with my brother. So that left me and my other brother and sister and my mom here. So
Right.
when I told my dad I'm going to UK, I don't think he believed me, and he didn't maybe think I was that serious.
Yeah.
And so knowing the kind of extended family I had, I gave them basically 24 to 48 hours to digest it until I left.
You left at the last minute, so there wasn't going to be any reasoning where you could be persuaded not to go. I like your style.
Yes. Yeah. So I gave them 48 hours, certain people, and the others were like telling my brother to stop me forcefully from leaving. And my brother said, I'm sorry, I can't do that to my sister. She wants to go, and this is her choice. She's going with her own money, and I'm letting her go. Yeah.
That's a nice brother.
Yeah. Yeah. He's nice. Can be naughty, but he's nice.
So you're working in a hotel, wondering what steak and kidney pie is. How long did you stay? Did you work in that hotel for a while, or how did you move on from there?
So like I was in this hotel, and I when I said to people I went to public school, they were like, wow, that is so posh. And I'm like, it's a public school. It's like where the other people in the, in our, it's not a private school. They're like, public school here is.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was interesting working in this hotel. And there's some funny recounts which I talk about in my book. The second one, the South African Roma, which is based on a true story, and the first parts of where you learn about apartheid and the culture and this Indian girl with so many layers is in the first book, the South African True Colors.
Right. Okay. Cool. So
Yeah.
there's 3 books. Give us the titles for each of them, and let us know which one. Go through them again. So what was the first book you wrote? What's it called?
The first book is the South African True Colors. And then the second one is the South African Roma. The third one I started with a week ago, which is a series to that one, the South African Roma. And I wrote already a children's book, A Light, which I released last year.
Right. Wow. You're a serial author here. Love it. Well, when we conclude on the show notes to this, we'll make sure that we put in we can put in the links to those books. So if anybody wants to go and check them out, you can go and read Tulsi's. Is it the first one that's the true story, or are they all true stories?
The South African True Colors and the South African Roma are both based on a true story.
Yeah, fab.
Yeah.
Brilliant, great stuff. So I think that's kind of quite a brave thing to do, to move countries, and especially like, moving to the UK or going through London, passport control and immigration, all that kind of stuff. It must have, on reflection, because you were quite young doing that, I don't know what kind of, when you look back on that, do you think that was a good move that you did? Was that the first step to kind of creating a bit more freedom in your life, or would you have done things a little bit differently now, or are you glad you moved basically from South Africa?
I won't change a thing about what happened then. Yes, I'm so glad that I actually followed it, because there's a lot of Indian girls who don't follow through.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just they believe in the story that this is not going to happen for them.
Yeah. Brilliant.
So yeah, it was, and I can totally say that now I'm here in South Africa after 19 years. I had no idea what a power force I am, because when the immigration issues, I had immigration issues since the day I started traveling at 21 years of age, because I've become so sharp. I possibly gave myself the terminology that everyone else gave me and accepted the word foreigner immigrant.
Yeah.
So while I was 23 and I met university students, I already had the understanding that I'm an immigrant now. There's a difference here between a European going to university and me being 23 as a foreigner in their country. And we were the same age. So when I got that understanding, I believe that it was probably so hard to find someone on a higher frequency when you're 23 and the world is giving you a terminology. You are in this box. And so this became the entire reality basically for all those years.
Yeah.
And now that I'm back, and I decided to make the story so widely open, and even knowing that I'm going to return and I'm going to be shamed, I just stepped into it. And this has become the ultimate power, that people around are saying that, okay, we got the COVID here, and we had this person 1 year ago who had to leave the UK and had nothing, had to leave everything and had nothing in the bank account, and returned here and still continued with her purpose and vision of the books, and still standing in the time of COVID, and writing even powerful articles that are coming up even more. People are like, I think we need to change the way we're thinking.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So, what was the reason though that you left a year ago? What was the? How long were you in the UK for then?
I lived in like 5 countries since then. I went to, I think that brilliant experience that I had in UK between the year 2000 and 2002 opened me up so much to my actual potential, which I don't think I would have ever have found if I didn't leave for the UK with £1,300 in my pocket.
Yeah.
And I became like a manager. I learned how to manage my own life through that. I learned how to manage people. I learned how to empower people. And then I actually learned to say that, no, I don't deserve that. I deserve that. I'm going for that. And that is what the UK has really done for me as a 21-year-old, in that space where I found the confidence to be a traveler and a seeker and a person who decides their own will for quite a few years. And I guess one of the reasons why I didn't end up in a relationship is because I was so afraid of the domestic violence, because that existed in my home.
Right, yeah.
And what I was very afraid of happened at the end.
Yeah, because I think sometimes when we focus sometimes on fear, we create that reality in some respects, don't you think?
Yeah.
What we worry about actually becomes off focus, and we end up kind of generating that somehow. I think that's happened to me previously. So if you're comfortable sharing all that kind of stuff, I think it really helps people who might be going through something similar. So if there's anything you want to share on that part of your journey, then
yes, you are so right there. The fear that you transmit outside is kind of like hitting you back like a reflection in a mirror, because you so want to control that aspect that you're actually generating that into your life. So in my case, probably I was so concerned about wanting to remain independent and keep my independence, and knowing that the economic crisis was here in 2010, I kind of thought this is not the time to start a relationship when you're on such a low. And then I have no idea whether I self-sabotage myself, and also maybe with the lack of experience in relationships and ignoring the warning signs, I entered the relationship. So the warning signs were already there for the first 3 months, and I maybe thought I was superwoman, that I could turn this thing around.
Yeah, that's what I can relate to that, because I look back and think, oh, all the red flags were there. But yeah, so I can totally relate to that.
Yeah, and you think that it's not going to damage you, right? Because you're young, you're so strong. You don't deal with anxiety, you don't deal with panic attacks. You never had that. So you had no idea it's going to come your way until you find yourself 4 years later, like, oh my God, where the hell did I come? And why did I allow myself to sink so low?
Yeah.
Yeah. And why did I let someone else have that power?
Yeah, I know, exactly. I think it just creeps up on you, and then before you know, it feels like overnight you're suddenly in this situation. I can definitely relate to that. And I think when you are an independent person and you have done things, that you remind yourself about that without like kind of avoiding what the issue is by saying, well, it can't be happening to me because I'm independent, or I'm this, or I'm strong. And then before you know it, you are actually in that.
It's weird, isn't it? Like, you think that actually you do hold the power in this relationship, but then actually someone is 10 steps ahead of you. They already know what you're thinking, how you're acting. They know which angle you're going to come from. They've already sussed it out.
Yeah, exactly. So anything you want to share as regards to how you sort of dealt with that situation, or how did you kind of get out of that situation? Because I think that helps people who are already in it,
Yes. I started to read up. I started to actually, what I let happen is I let a person who had no experience of life and no solid proof of being a success tell me how it is to be successful. Tell
Yeah.
me what a success is. And that was the biggest mistake I made, because I stopped educating myself. I stopped going to meet smarter people because he was so insecure that I was going to meet someone better than him or be influenced
Yeah.
by someone better than him. So I started to read, and I was like, the first thing I picked up was after a woman gave me a pamphlet, and I was like, oh my God, we have a relationship problem here. And so I went on the internet and started to read about domestic violence. And then I was like, what? How did I not see the psychological part of this?
I can so relate to this.
I'm smart. How could I not see
Yeah,
that?
exactly.
So and I think the for me the hardest part was when I figured this out only after a few years, that I was actually a victim of someone who used the hate against immigrants to turn on me. So I was a very independent woman, very strong. So this person showed everyone around us that I was the one in control and he was the weaker one.
Yeah.
And then he used the fact that I'm a foreigner, and because there's so much xenophobia around foreigners and papers and legalization, and said that I was then using him for the papers.
Yeah.
And I really couldn't leave that. I didn't know how to get out of his story then. That was such a powerful story to hold up for him. He knew exactly how to use that story.
Yeah.
And then I didn't know what was coming after that. That he actually felt the power in having my contacts and having all that I had gained for my own personal reputation and life over the 18 or whatever 15 years. When he threatened me in a very, because I didn't know the psychological side until later on, I saw that as a blackmail. Later, when I realized that he was actually blackmailing me,
Yeah, but at the time you didn't.
Yeah, and to know that. So that's why you're saying that I shouldn't do so and so because of so and so, because you have my context. And then I found myself in a situation where I was in defamation on a public page in Facebook, where all the people who knew me were on there. And then people were receiving private messages on my Facebook about me, and only a few came to come back and say that some guy is sending us this information about you.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So what actually helped me get out now, 2014 was a hell of a year, because you don't know you were a psycho until you leave a psycho.
Exactly. I can relate to that. I can relate to everything you've said so far. Because you don't. It's only when you start, the alarm bells start ringing, don't they? And it was a similar scenario that you've just relayed for me as well. That with the dynamics, if like I was the leader in the relation, I was the breadwinner, and so he, so how could I be like abused by someone that was like that? When I was the leader. But
Yeah.
actually, there was a lot of psychological stuff that was going on around that. So yeah, I think I can relate. You only know. I had a gut instinct that I was going to have problems when I left. I think it's obviously the energy thing, you know, but you only really realize when you actually go, don't you?
Yeah.
So what happened next then?
With your story, I'm sure you must have felt the paranoia, because you were like,
Yeah,
am I going crazy because I'm the leader, but now people are going to think bad of me because this whole thing has been sabotaged,
yeah,
including yourself.
exactly.
So yeah, it was a lot about like, oh my God, like people will buy the story because he had I have a history of being strong and independent, not
Mm,
negative, and that was now being turned around. So 2014 was a really tough year because I left him just before Christmas in December 2013. A spiritualist helped me see what was going on because I was in denial. And then I
yeah,
returned after seeing my family with some force, because even my family noticed something wasn't right. In my sister was like, this is not my sister. Whoever this person is, she's not my sister. And and uh, and she was like, something is going on here. And when I finally faced that and went back from South Africa after seeing my family for 10 days in like over 6 or 7 years, something like that.
yeah. Wow.
Yeah. And then I returned with some strength, and I had the courage to get my friend in the UK to help me split up. And it was all synchronicity because the job gave me 10 days. They just said from nowhere that you have 10 days holiday and you can take it if you want. And in that 10 days, I actually said, um, a phone call came for interview I had 1 year ago. And they said to me, we want to hire you.
Wow.
And the 10 days, this company that I worked for, they didn't need a notice because I wasn't on a certain type of contract. So I could walk away when I wanted to. So it's so weird that out of all the things I could have mentioned, I didn't even mention where I'm going to work when I left the ex-partner. And that saved my life from all the detail. I didn't say that, and I didn't know he was going to behave like a psycho.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So yeah,
But like you say, when you look back, the synchronicity aren't there, because I look back and think that with this, like the sell, I sold our house in like 2 days. Like most people,
wow,
it's weeks, isn't it?
yeah,
I had 4 offers for the house. It was just like, you know, the for sale sign hadn't even gone up, and obviously I was like, I didn't want the for sale sign to go up because it was a bit embarrassing with my neighbours. And so that all worked perfectly, because I thought I was going to be stuck with that house for ages, you know. And it's just like things, you know, like you say, the universe had my back. It sounds like you had that similar pattern where things are helping you get out or escape out of that situation.
yeah. But your story is amazing about the house. That is definitely something.
But you know, like you fear kind of like in your head, the reason why you don't take those steps is because you kind of worry about the consequences that might not go right. And then when you actually do make the decision and go for it, everything sort of fits into place, I think.
Yeah, yeah. When you decided, and the universe knows that you've been cheated. It
Yeah.
knows, it sees everything, you know. And the spiritualist told me, if he wants to live like a dog, let him live like a dog. You need to leave. And then it made sense, you know, that all those things that were happening. And so there was, my friends had to help me separate from this guy, and I had stayed with them. And then the bombarding on the phone started, the WhatsApps, the emailing, the whole family was now in this mix, and they were getting so many messages. And this thing was like crazy. In 10 days I felt sick already in the second day, that I couldn't even get up from the bed. And my friend had to make some like for the immune system, she made like this garlic and ginger mix. And
Yeah.
yeah, have this, you need to get strong again. And they were like defending, they were like basically being the wall for me, taking all the heat while I
Yeah,
get
that's
up.
nice. That's nice.
Yeah, that was really nice. And then 2014, there was also with that job where there was workplace bullying, because I wasn't right inside me. That's when you notice the panic attacks coming, the anxiety, all of a sudden there's palpitations,
Yeah.
and and you don't have some kind of alignment with yourself even in your job.
Yeah.
And that's when I actually started meditating, and I started to journal. I started to because also he got the UK government to kick me out of the country, so now I was getting all these letters coming to the door. So I was basically ready to leave the country as well. And but then the universe had my back in such a way that it was like every time I felt like I couldn't do it, some door opened and
Yeah.
showed me that there's a door. Go walk through there.
Uh, so how?
That's what happened.
So when you when you decided you were coming back to South Africa, how did it? I bet you just felt like you were actually going on that plane when you got on that flight. You felt like you were actually a sigh of relief, really, to get out in some
Yeah.
respect because of
So
everything with him.
so what happened in 2018 October? The immigrations officer came and knocked on my door uh, while I was asleep. It's so early in the morning, and I think I was a bit fed up with the whole story of having to fight because the domestic violence law in the UK didn't include psychological abuse. I only found this out at the end. So
Yeah.
I got a knock on the door from the immigrations. This is such a blessing even, because what you think is going to be like a deportation turned out to be an Indian guy in the group who kind of said that this is not looking right. Like, you look like a very intelligent woman and a decent woman, and you're not fitting the categories of why you should be deported. You know.
That's interesting.
And I was like, maybe I should just go home, because my dad is just missing me so much. And he's like, we never heard that before either. Everyone else wants to stay here, and you're like, you want to go?
Love it.
And so they all like had a meeting together, and they're like, this thing is all weird. We don't we don't know how to handle this case with this girl. so,
And
so
was this because of your ex reporting you, basically?
yeah,
Yeah,
he
yeah,
kept looking for me the all 7 years, and the whole 7 years I've been. My ex obviously doesn't know the amount I spent in lawyers and the amount of assistance I had to get from so many people to uphold my case.
yeah.
So yeah, I was, and then again I thought, okay, you might as well go home. And then the lawyer stepped in, and he's like, no, you're not going home. We're going to get you an appeal.
How funny.
And so there I am thinking that the relief button is going to be pressed. The relief button is going to be pressed, and it's not going to be pressed as yet. So uh, the lawyer gave it a shot, and I obviously didn't know, should I stay? Should I go? Should I wait?
Yeah. You probably really mixed opinion because it's like you want to fight kind of out of principle with your ex to say, I have every right to be here, sort of thing. But then on the other hand, if you're already thinking, actually, I wouldn't mind going back home, you'd be thinking of that as well, the pull for your family of what you wanted to do. So it must have been a sort
Yeah.
of difficult mix of feelings, if you know what I mean. Because I also think
Yeah.
for me, when I split up with my ex, my initial response was to move back home, which was only like a couple of hours drive. But then I decided in the end to not. And I think that was more out of principle, like, no, I'm going to stay around here, So I think it's a natural thing, isn't it, when you go through something that you think, oh, actually, I want to go back to my family. And then you probably had that whole same mix as well, that you were like, legally you had the right to be there, or and you were having that support from lawyers or within your individual case or whatever.
You got it there, right there. You hit the nail. I was like, do I let I think it then became a purpose in
Yeah.
a way. It became a purpose in a way that, okay, so what are you telling me here? Firstly, my culture has arranged marriage. I don't want an arranged marriage. And then the system is telling me I need to get married to stay in the country, and I still don't want that. So, so what is the system after? So this became like a, I'm not letting the system win. It was like that. And then I was like, is this worth the fight, honey? You're just so tired of all this shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah. So then I was actually relieved at the end when the this was also another weird thing that they say to the lawyer when the document came through. Oh, but you saying that your client had suffered from domestic violence. Why didn't you provide the proof of the domestic violence? Obviously, because we have provided the proof in the past and you didn't accept. But now, December 18, you make psychological abuse now part of the law. So how are we supposed to know in October we're supposed to put that information in?
Yeah.
So yeah, it was more like I was like, you're not going to win this game, and uh, not this round. Maybe one round another time, but not this round.
Yeah.
So yeah, and when I got that paper saying you have to leave, I was in so much of tears. I went through so many tissues, but it wasn't pain. It wasn't disappointment. It was actually
Relief,
relief.
probably. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I can
yeah,
totally relate to that. Yeah.
yeah. That this thing is over.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
once and for all.
Yeah.
But
Wow. How
yeah,
did you like for people who might be listening to this that could be in a similar situation? What kind of, obviously I know from knowing you that you've done a lot of meditation, and I feel like we're aligned in that way because I think meditation is just so good for us, no matter, even if you've not been through stuff. I just think life is busy, and especially in this kind of digital space, it's nice to be able to be mindful, and but it also does help if we've been through anything and we want to heal. But is there anything else that you obviously had a very good friend who was looking out for you and your immunity and all that kind of stuff, and being that barrier for when you were getting the bombarding of messages and all that kind of stuff? Um, is there anything though that you, and you've put a lot into these books, which I know has probably been, I'm guessing, part of like your healing, but also sharing that experience and story into the world to help others? But is there anything that you would recommend or give as guidance, or any tips that can help people going through something similar?
the guidance that I would give is that even if you have a best friend, you're going to feel alone because the best friend got their own life to lead.
Yeah,
And as much as they can be there for you, you're always going to feel like you're not 100% supported, especially as a foreigner. But you're not actually alone. And and the key is to not take it personal. It's so easy to take everything personal in life, but actually everyone is on their own path, and actually the answer is inside of you. And this is what I found in meditation, that meditation made me understand that no matter what, the earth is shaking around you. You have to run with your kids. You have to do what you have to do. It's all shaking around you, but it's inside of you that you can keep that balance and that stability. And meditation practically saved my life in 2014 because I was thinking of suicide.
yeah,
And this meditation just basically said, listen, whatever is going to happen externally, it's not going to shake you internally. So let your internal self get strong and make your decision from inside, and then externally will work out all right.
yeah,
Don't let the external factor affect you inside.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. That's really good advice, because I think also there's always, and I'm sure you've had this with family as well, that you always kind of, there's always this thing of what other people think that sometimes drives us, other people's opinions or perceptions and all that kind of stuff on us. When actually, if you just like you say, focus on yourself, um, And yeah, friends can be there for you, but just sort of deep dive into yourself really, and not be scared to kind of spend time alone understanding all of your different feelings and all of your different thoughts.
Yeah.
And that's what meditation has done for me as well, I think. Some great sort of tips there, because I think it's difficult enough going through something like domestic violence, domestic abuse, but also, like you say, feeling like you're this labelled foreigner on top of all of that. And that must have been really, really challenging, really. And you know, girl power to you for like, you know, getting through it and sharing your stuff through the books, really. I think it's
Thanks.
really empowering from you know, hearing from another woman that you've got through all of that, and it show massive resilience along the way.
Yeah, it really did teach me about friendship, family, and it really did teach me about who am I really. Um, because can you believe a devil pretending to be the perfect angel has actually created an angel of me?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it was a really deep experience, and my family got to realize that they got to stick. They just got to stick with the person and believe in who this person is in their family. And the friends the same, everyone, yes.
Yeah, and I think all our experiences are all teaching us something, aren't they? Because I know sometimes I feel like friends or family or there's people that know me think, oh God, it must be so horrendous what you went through. And I think, look, don't feel sorry for me, because actually this helped me quickly discover who I was, which is similar to what you just said. And I think I actually am grateful for all of it now. When I was right in the middle of it, I thought, oh my God, this is like going through hell. But, you know, now I look back and I think, if I had have had the normal thing and not had this experience, I wouldn't have discovered all these things about me, or wouldn't be helping other people now. So it's kind of, I found that meaning in all the suffering, I suppose, and I feel a better person for it. So when people show me sympathy for the challenges I've gone through, I must admit I don't really like that, because I kind of think it's good that it don't feel sorry for me, because this is actually, I've learned so much from it, you know,
Yeah,
and it was meant to happen to me, sort of thing. So
yeah, it's funny how it happens, isn't
exactly. So come on, tell us what's on the cards then for you in the future. Obviously, I know that you're keen to get these books out, and we'll, for those of you listening, you'll be able to see in the show notes, if you're on iTunes or if you're watching this on YouTube, you'll be able to see the links to Tulsi's books. But tell us what's the future? What are you focusing on right now for you?
currently, I just accepted that, wow, uh, what has happened to you in the last 7 years has actually been your superpower today, is now
Yeah,
becoming your superpower. I'm just feeling a new force of the way I'm writing recently. So the in the pipeline is book 4, the South African, and the name is still being, let's just say, meditated upon.
yeah,
Uh, yeah, and I'm experimenting a lot of things at home, because now that I'm with my family, I can finally say that we have received uh, grace to the universe, God, whatever it is, the peace and harmony in our home that needed to long ago exist. Now it's here. So
yeah. That's nice.
yeah, it's given me more peace now to write. So the 4th book is now in the pipeline, and I have no idea what's coming up next.
Love it, love it. I can't believe you've got 4 books. It's like serial author here. I love it. I
But
love
like,
it.
the blogging is still going on, because the blogging is all about the spiritual side. So how this has worked is that you read a story, and for you to understand the story of the books, you go back on the blogs, in the blog posts in my blog, and then you can actually now put the two together to understand why the person was thinking what they were thinking in that part of the story, because you
Right,
find
yeah.
the answer in the blog post.
I like that. That's
Yeah.
good. So what's your website then for your blogging? that people we'll obviously put that in the links as well, but how can people follow you and find out more?
So you can go to my pen name, which is www.tdenchpatel.com, like in Judy Dench. So www.tdenchpatel.com, and in the menu, when you go to others, you'll find the box below that says blog, and you can go there and check out my work there. And you can go to the news page to check out my artistic little quotes in form of music and video. And Instagram is where that goes on. So you can actually see the videos on Instagram. And so I'm just playing around with the arty side of it now.
Yeah. Love it. So there's a question I always ask everybody at the end of the interview, and it's because obviously the podcast is your freedom podcast. What does freedom mean to you, Tulsi?
Freedom is giving yourself the permission to believe that you are worthy of being everything and anything you want to be on this planet.
Love it. Love it. I really appreciate your time. You've been through, I didn't even know about the gunman to the head, so that's a new one for me. But really love you sort of sharing your vulnerability in this interview, and I think it really does help other people who might be going through different challenges or want to see a bit of light at the end of the tunnel. So I really appreciate you giving us your time and just sharing from the heart what you're up to. And if you are interested, people, of checking out Tulsi's books, make sure you have a look at the links in the show notes or the comments section. And yeah, Tulsi, really appreciate your time.
Appreciate your time as well, Anna. Thank you. I really love you so much. You're just so amazing.
Bless you. Thanks again for your time.
No worries. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Hey, thank you for listening. Hope you had a blast. Here to elevate your life. It's the Freedom Podcast. Love, money, mind. Love, money, mind. Wanna see you all win. Wanna see you all shine. Just make sure that you subscribe. Bringing good vibes. Join the Facebook group. Now it's time to change your life. Hope you come back. Right now is the chance. This is an experience. It's the Freedom Podcast. Hey.